Hey, so a viewer writes in, "Hey David, how do I know where to give my money?" That is a really excellent question. And today I have 5 tips on how to give your money where it counts. That's coming up today on My Virtual Mentor. Well, hey, my friend, my name's David. I lead men to go further, faster in their faith in Jesus Christ. If you're new to the channel, man, I am so glad that you found us. Welcome. You know, this channel, I just answer questions that men write in about the practical nuts and bolts of the Christian faith. You know, maybe you didn't grow up with a dad in the home or a spiritual father or a spiritual mentor, and that includes a lot of men on YouTube, you know, and so I'm just trying to answer some questions and go right to the answer book, which is the Word of God, the Bible, okay? So let's just get right on into it today, okay? Okay, here's our question. Hey, David, how do I know where to give my money? That's a great question. And so here's 5 tips to give where it counts, okay? First thing is this. God gave first. I just want to remind you that God is the initiator. When it comes to giving, God is the planet's most extreme giver. I mean, the classic testament of this is John 3:16, a very familiar verse. For God so loved the world that he gave. What did he give? He gave his best. He gave his only begotten Son, which means it wasn't, you know, he wasn't born of just human origin. This was the begotten of God. You can read about that in the Nicene Creed. This was the holy God coming down in the incarnation, condescending to become a man, fully God, fully man, the God-man, Jesus Christ, the Messiah, the holy and anointed one. God so loved the world that he gave him. Romans 8:32 says, he who did not spare his own Son, but gave him up for us all, how will not also along with him, with Jesus, graciously give us all things? What things? Everything that you need pertaining to life and godliness. I'm telling you, when it comes to giving, God gave first, and he's the planet's most extreme giver. If you want to follow in his footsteps, well, we're going to be givers too. So here's the second thing, and that is giving is good. We know this. I want you to give, you know. So you know, giving is good. It's good for the world. I mean, look at these beautiful faces of these children, you know, give to these causes that, you know, reach outside, you know, our comfort zones and outside our time zones, right? And just, you know, we supported kids in Latin America for years and all of that. Children will never meet. But just, you know, giving helps the world. It builds the kingdom, is good for the kingdom, right? See a guy here getting baptized in water, you know, giving to the local church. This is the storehouse, right? You know, is just amazing. You know, all of us collectively are more powerful when we combine all of our assets, all of our resources together through the local church. The local church is the hope of the world, as my pastor Ron Karadoff likes to say. So, you know, it helps, you know, it's good for the kingdom and it's good for us. We need to give. We receive so much from God, right? Freely we receive, freely we should give. And that includes our money too. So I'm just kind of set a foundation as I'm setting up this answer to this question. I love this verse out of Proverbs in the Message translation. It says, the world of the generous gets larger and larger. The world of the stingy gets smaller and smaller, right? That's so true, okay? Well, here's the third thing. And then it's really not our money. Frankly, it's not all of our own money, right? I want to talk about the tithe for a minute. As well as we're talking about giving, listen, we need to start with what's not ours in the first place. The Hebrew word for the tithe is ma'aser. Okay, this is the tenth. This is moving the decimal point one place to the left on what comes to you. It's called your first fruits. Malachi 3:9 and 10. Now, this is a classic verse about tithing. You know, God is saying, hey, you know, you've robbed me. And he said, well, how have we robbed you? And he says, well, in your tithes. You've not given your tithes to the local storehouse. Says, bring the tithe into the storehouse. This is the local church, the place where you get your spiritual teaching, you're affiliated with your local church, bring the tithe into the storehouse, that there may be meat in my house, and test me now and see if I won't open the windows of heaven and pour out a blessing that you cannot retain. Okay, this is the only place, the one and only place where God says, put me to the test and see if you don't, when returning what is not yours, the tenth, the tithe is holy, consecrated, dedicated to the Lord. It's returning what isn't ours to begin with, and that is a test. A test of your faith with your finances, and then he'll bless the 90%. I'm just telling you, I know this to be true. I've been a tither since I was a little boy. My mom and dad taught me how to tithe on my allowance. $5, right? Well, 50 cents went in an envelope to the church. All the way up to this present day, we're tithers and committed to that. And so it's in the scriptures. So there you go. The test. Now, God's going to test you in your finances. He's going to test you with your money. He's going to test you. This is what the parable of the talents is all about. Jesus told this parable, right? 5 bags of gold, 3 bags of gold, 1 bag of gold, or talents, or giving this to the servants. And how did you do? And the one with 5 doubled it, 3 doubled it, and the one buried it. And it was about stewardship. What are you going to do with what God gave you? See, when you and I stand before God, the question is not going to be, what did you do? No. The question is going to be, what did you do with what I gave you? Okay? Now, this levels out the playing field between the ultra-rich, the mega-rich, and mere mortals like us, right? Making a living, paying bills. No, it's what did you do with what I gave you? This is a matter of stewardship, okay? So listen, that's good news for us, and that Billy Graham and your pastor and my pastor, these wonderful men of God, or people that we look to in our culture that have done so many ginormous things. Well, it's what did we do with what God gave us? What was God's plan for our lives? Did we find it? Did we express our core values and our spiritual gifts and our past experiences, good and bad, and were those met? Did we walk in the calling of God on our lives? And that has to do with our money as well. And if we pass the test on our money, then God is going to trust us with this, right? God's not going to give you something that he knows is going to destroy you. You're going to be so greedy and lustful for material possessions or this or that or the other, that he can't trust you with it because he knows you're going to self-destruct with it. So he's going to take that into consideration. We need to be like, not like the Dead Sea that just takes in. Well, it has no outlet. That's why it's dead. We need to be more like the Jordan River, right? That just flows. It just flows. And everywhere the river flows, life flows. Everything's green and things, in this beautiful delta flourish and grow and prosper. Well, that's what we need to be. Let the things that come to us just flow out of us after our needs are met, and we pay our tithes, we give our offerings, and we save savings, and we invest wisely, and all of that. Then God can trust us with the money. Okay, number 4 is giving transcends cash and coin. I want to help you with that. It's not just about giving money. The question is, how do we know where to give my money? Well, it's also about giving time, because sometimes you don't have the money, but you have the time, or you have the tutoring. You can tutor someone. They don't need your money. They need what's inside you. Show me how to do this. I just don't know, and no one will take the time to show me how to do this. Generations right now, they think, I don't really need you because I got YouTube. Man, I'll just look up a video, or I'll Google it, right? Or I'll go to Wikipedia, or how stuff works, or howto.com, or whatever. And I'm thankful for those resources, but we're losing the ability, this transfer of this craftsmanship and skill and expertise and experience and wisdom that comes from just meeting with people who will pass on things to us. If someone's hypothermic, you don't send them to a website. You don't give them, an app to download. If they're hypothermic, you take a warm body and you take the cold hypothermic body and you put them together, and the heat from one transfers to the other. Okay, this transference is what I'm talking about. And that takes time. It takes tutoring. There's teaching you can do to the next generation of leaders, training. Like you train up a child in the way they should go, and when they're old, they won't depart of it. Many of you men, your fathers, your daddies, right? This is your time to train your children, right? And to help tune up their lives and prepare them to make their maximum impact on their life, to not go out there into life ill prepared and they don't even know what to do when they leave home. And your tongue, man, you can give your tongue through encouragement, words of affirmation, right? Words of validation. I've never met the man so spiritual that he doesn't need words of affirmation and encouragement from time to time, right? And your tongue can give life. Life and death are in the tongue. And then touching people, touching their lives, showing up for their ball games, showing up for the big events, eating with them, playing with them, praying with them, doing projects with them, man, being with them in good times and bad. You're touching their lives. And then you've got tools, man. I mean, yeah, there's physical tools, but there's just things that you've learned along the way that you can pass on to them, and tactics, right? Here's the workaround. When you get in this situation, man, your boss, you think he's the Antichrist. Let me help you with that. Or, you've been married 5 years and the honeymoon phase is gone and you just think, dear God, what have I done? Let me help you with that, okay? You're going to make it. Let's stay the course, that kind of thing. These are tactics. I'm just talking about giving transcends cash and coin. And then the fifth thing is it's about the soil. We're talking about, okay, hey, David, how do I know where to give my money? Well, it's about the soil. You need to be a fruit inspector. You need to be a soil inspector. The Bible talks about here in Matthew 7 that, a good tree can't bear bad fruit and a bad tree can't bear good fruit. You're going to know a tree by its fruit. You got to be a fruit inspector. So how do you know? You got to look for fruitfulness. You got to look for trustworthiness or reliability. A lot of these websites for nonprofits, they have, a seal on there that we're examined. We're under accountability. We're under high scrutiny, okay? We're not just taking in the cash when nobody's telling us what to do with it. Nobody's looking over our shoulder. Nobody's doing internal audits. There's not these internal protocols and controls in place. You can get that information, and you should do your homework if you're going to invest, money or a sizable amount of money in something. And so, but it's about the soil, and Jesus gave a parable about 4 types of soil. There's this hard soil, and you know what? The soil is kind of like the heart. It really is a metaphor for the heart. You see, as Pastor Larry Stockstill said, the heart of the problem has always been the problem with the heart. Okay? It's a heart issue. God has always been after our heart. The Bible says that the heart is desperately wicked. Okay? And left alone in sin, man, it's evil, it's vile, it's sinful, and this is what sinners do. Don't get mad at sinners because they sin, because that's what sinners do, okay? Because it's about the heart. Everybody needs a heart transplant, spiritually speaking, and that's why Jesus came, to give us a shiny new heart, right? And to come into our heart, And so there's hard soil, and this is just people get a hard heart and jaded and cynical and sarcastic and all this kind of mess. And then there's shallow soil where people they receive the gospel, they receive the truth, but then the deceitful of riches or persecution comes along, and they abandon the faith. And then there's this polluted soil. It's got weeds in it, it's got rocks in it. And really, guys, this is our responsibility to be gardeners of our own heart, to be vine dressers of our wife's heart if we're married, and our children's heart if we're a parent. It's our responsibility as leaders to guard our own heart and to take care of the heart of those that we have responsibility and stewardship over. And then there's the fertile soil. This is the soil that produces a 30, 60, and 100-fold return. Man, that's what I want to be. Is that what you want to be, brother? Man, I want that for you. And that's why I even do this channel, making an attempt to speak up and say something about questions that you have. So there you go. And so, all right, so here's some giving scenarios right here. And it just takes wisdom and discernment. It just does. You got a homeless guy holding the sign on the side of the road. You got to be wise on that. Have I given him money? Absolutely yes. But I've also brought him something to drink, or can I get you take you to McDonald's or something. You got to be wise in that. Or the local church, man, I believe in the local church returning the tithe to the storehouse, the local church. And then above that, the offerings, man, and give above that. And then nonprofits, course we give to nonprofits. We support things like a Soldier's Child birthday foundation and you know, others, you know, and give to your kids' school, you know, whether raising money for something or sports clubs or, you know, even political candidates. You know, you got to be wise before you give them money. You know, I am not going to give one dime to anyone that is not pro-life, pro-marriage between a man and a woman, pro-family, and pro-Israel. Not going to happen. Not going to happen in my house on my watch with my money. Okay, so I'm going to be held culpable and responsible and accountable for who I supported financially. I'm just telling you, this is part of us standing before the Bema seat of Christ, the judgment seat of Christ. If you're a Christian, this isn't a matter of salvation. This is a matter of your reward in heaven. This is biblical, theological, doctrinal truth, okay? And so we got to give an account for who we endorse, who we support, who we, you know, give money to and things like that, okay? So, but fortunately, happily, thankfully, wisdom is available to help us to discern how to give. It's right here in James. If any man lacks wisdom, let him ask, and God will give it to you generously. Why? Because God gave first, and God gave most, and God gave his best, and he's going to give you every single thing that you need to know where to give your money, where to give it where it counts, where it matters, where it makes a difference, okay? So I hope that is helpful to you. So let's review. I had 5 little thoughts here. The first one is that God gave first. Secondly, giving is good. You bet it is. Number 3 tip was it's not our money. Remember the tithe. If that's due to you, don't just poo-poo to it. Don't just say, I can't afford to do it. Listen, ask a tither about it. They'll tell you. Number 4 is, you know, giving transcends cash and coin. We talk about all those T words. And then lastly, it's about the soil. Listen, let's cultivate the soil of our hearts, right? So that they're tender and fruitful and fertile for the Lord. Okay, so I got a resource for you. If you want to go deeper in this, I've created an entire course, a 21-day challenge called My Money Challenge, okay? It's a 21-day challenge. You can check that out at myvirtualmentor.org. It's all there. In fact, I have a whole 1-year online discipleship experience called My Journey Discipleship Experience. It's a map to your best spiritual growth year ever. You can check it out at my website, okay? I'll have a link in the description below. Okay, so that's it for today. Hey, David, how do I know where to give my money? Well, I've got a question for you. Do you have a question for me? Oh man, I would love to hear about it. If you just write it in the comments below. I do read every single comment. I would love to hear it. Maybe we'll do a video on it at some point. And if you haven't subscribed to My Virtual Mentor, man, I'd appreciate it so much if you would do that. Go ahead and click that notification bell so you won't miss anything every week, as we publish these every week. And so that's it for today. I'm David, your virtual mentor, just reminding you that God wants you to go further, faster in your faith. And I'll see you next week.